Today, I'm taking you back in time. We're going back to the year 2012, to the Thanksgiving holiday that year. I have some things to share with you about that particular Thanksgiving that some of you may find hard to believe, or you may think I'm stretching things a bit, possibly embellishing. I can assure you, I am not. Even though the things I'm about to tell you may seem far-fetched, they're absolutely true. In fact, they've happened frequently and have brought me great comfort and plenty of guidance over the years. And you can have similar experiences. I'm giving you the details, whether you believe me or not, on today's episode, which starts now. Welcome to Shift or Get Off the Pot, the podcast that helps you get out of your head and into action so you can make your dreams your reality. Let's get to it. I have a little story for you today. It's about my mom's birthday. Yesterday was my mom's birthday, and it reminded me of something that happened on her birthday 12 years ago. Since her birthday is late in November, every once in a while it falls on the same day as Thanksgiving. Well, that was the case 12 years ago. We had a house full for Thanksgiving that year. It was fun, probably a little chaotic because of all the kids running around, but it was fun. And well after dinner and dessert, and after all the guests had left, my kids and I just wanted to end the evening hanging out on the couch, watching a Christmas movie. And it was just us and Lola, of course, our dog, who you probably know by now since she has made an appearance on this podcast a few times. Anyway, it had just been a very long day and everyone just wanted to sit and relax and watch a movie, which is what we were doing. But shortly after we sat down, we heard this noise coming from behind us. So I got up, checked everything, made sure everything was shut, and we figured, it's just the wind maybe blowing some tree branches against the house. A little while later, we heard it again. So again, I got up, went out in the kitchen, checked everything, made sure nothing was turned on. Then I went down, checked on the garage, made sure everything was just shut and locked, and that was it. We figured, it's just the wind. And then we didn't really hear anything after that. Then the movie ended, and we did the usual nighttime routine, and I tucked all my kids in bed, and then I went out to just shut the house down, make sure the TV was off, that the lights were off, the doors were all locked, all that stuff. But as I turned away from the TV and started walking out of the living room, I noticed a candle flickering in the armoire. Now, I knew that candle was not lit when we sat down to watch the movie, nor when we just left the room. So I went into each of the kids' rooms and I'm like, hey, who turned on the candle? It was a battery-operated candle, the kind, those ones that have the flickering candle wick, not a real flame. Thankfully, not a real flame. But I still was trying to figure out who opened the armoire and turned on the candle. Here's the thing, the armoire was old. It was an antique. Nobody could open that without help from someone else. It was a hard door to open. It kept getting stuck. It was an antique that I got years ago on an antiquing trip to Canada with my mom. My mom owned an antique shop and she loved scouring the country in search of some rare piece. And since I was the youngest, I was the one that usually went with her. And I don't even really like antiques. So I hated going on these trips. But I loved visiting the farms and hanging out with the horses. It was on a farm in Nova Scotia, Canada, where she found this armoire, the only piece that I ever really liked. Mostly because it reminded me of that farm where these two gorgeous horses were in this huge green pasture running free. So that armoire, of course, never made its way to her store. Instead, it sat in my living room. Now, My kids at this point were intrigued, thinking, okay, one of us isn't telling the truth. What happened? Who turned on the candle? So they all jumped out of bed. They ran into the living room to see if it was really lit. And I told them, look, guys, it's not a big deal. I just want to know who was able to get this door open without my help. I mean, it's always stuck. But they just stood there shaking their heads, each of them just saying, I didn't do it. All right, whatever. I said, let's just turn it off. So I went to open the doors. And as I did, it hit me that today was November 25th. It was my mom's birthday. I looked at my kids. Oh my gosh, today's your grandmother's birthday. We forgot. We were so caught up in Thanksgiving. I forgot to even acknowledge her. I think she lit this candle to remind us, or to at least remind me, that it was her birthday. So I reached in for the candle to turn it off. Only when I turned it over, I just started laughing. There were no batteries inside. In fact, the cover to the batteries was missing. So even if it had batteries, without the cover, they wouldn't work. It was my mom's birthday. And she had lit a candle for herself to remind us that she was always with us. You see, my mom had passed 12 years earlier. The veil between there and here is very thin, very thin. I share this story, even though some of you may think, oh, come on, Kim, you're crazy. There's probably an explanation for it. No, there's no scientific or logical explanation for it. There isn't. I share it with you to let you know that the people you love and have lost are still around in spirit. Yes, it's different, but they hear us. They know when we're thinking of them. They know when we're sad or lonely or just having difficulties or just missing them. When my mom was dying, she died of ovarian cancer. So it wasn't sudden. We had time to talk with her about life and reflect on her life. And the one thing she said to me that will always stand out is that life goes so quickly, especially when you're younger. You're going to have days that you wish would just speed up because you're excited about some upcoming event. But know that each day is a gift. No matter what the day brings, it's a gift that you get to be here. It's a gift that you get to experience the day and that you get to live. That hit me hard because there were many times, and there still are, that I have to remind myself to just take a breath. And whatever may be going on that may be annoying or uncomfortable or demanding, it's just temporary. It'll pass. And in the grand scheme of life, it probably isn't that big of a deal. We talked about her giving me a sign, so I knew that she was with me. But then we actually never even arrived at anything because everything we thought of just seemed too common. Like we'd say, oh, how about a hummingbird or a butterfly? Well, I think those are fairly common. At least I see those a lot, especially where I live year round. I see them frequently. So we thought, we couldn't come up with anything right away. So we just forgot about it. And then about 5 years after her passing, my family was at a performance of my daughter's. And I knew my mom would have loved seeing her granddaughter perform. As her first granddaughter, they had a special bond. And I remember thinking, why didn't we just come up with a sign so I knew she was around, so I knew she could be present and maybe seeing this, even in spirit form? Well, my mom knew I wanted her to be there. And at intermission, all the rows emptied, except ours. My family had taken up almost an entire row, and we were just sitting there talking amongst ourselves. when out of the blue, this woman comes walking down our row, stepping over our feet. You know how it is when you're in a theater and you have to kind of shift sideways to let people get through and climb over your feet. The place is practically empty at this time. It's intermission. She easily could have gone down or up to another row and walked freely through the entire row. But instead, she's now in front of me and she stops, looks down, and then looks at me and says, "Oh, there's a dime right at your feet." She picks it up, hands it to me, and said, "The dime means there's an angel in heaven who wants you to know she hears you. And she's here now, watching. She also wants you to know every time you see a dime, she's with you." My entire family witnessed this. We all had chills, especially since we did not see that woman again the entire evening. Since that day, I have found countless dimes in the most unusual places, like in the crevices of a dock in Amsterdam, an American dime, or in the sand glistening right in front of me on a beach in Bali. Once, when my daughter was touring and a little homesick, she found one right under her foot, stuck in the cobblestones of a street in Estonia. Those are just a few of the random places we have found American dimes. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. The veil between there and here is very thin. So, why do I share these stories with you? Because the holidays are almost here. And this can be a time when you really miss those who have crossed over. So if you find yourself just wanting the comfort of knowing they're still with you, even if it's in spirit or you want a sign, there are some ways you can connect with them, even if you are a skeptic. One of the easiest ways is to just simply talk with your loved ones, your angels, God, your source, daily. I talk to God daily. I also talk to my mom, probably not daily, but frequently, like a friend. I ask for guidance, or I ask for help with little decisions or big decisions. If you aren't sure if you're getting an answer, start small until you can recognize the feeling or the sense that you're being heard. You'll start to get a particular feeling. It'll be the same type of feeling or a particular sign, the same type, kind of like me with the dimes. And you'll know that they hear you. And then next, talk with them now the same way you did before they left this lifetime. My mom has been gone 22 years now. 22 years. And there are times where I will grab the phone just as if she's next door and I have to just call her. We didn't even have cell phones 22 years ago. And then I realized, oh, I don't need a phone. How easy is it? I can just talk to her. Hey, Mom. If your loved one or your parent guided you before death, they can still give you guidance. It's just in a different form. If you had a crappy relationship, or there were some things that maybe you wished you had said before they passed, say it now. They'll hear you. And it will do you good to finally let it go. They will hear you. And then finally, visualize and thank them for guidance. If they cared about you and wanted the best for you while they were here, they still want that for you now. They know you're still here and what you may be dealing with. They just have a different perspective now. So when you think about your goals or your aspirations, when you visualize them, thank them for helping you with answers or clarity, much like you would if they were physically here. When you pray and visualize in the affirmative, you relinquish control. And that's when you get to experience the flow of guiding energy. And that in turn replaces fear with gratitude. The holidays can be a bit tough if you have lost someone. But I'm hoping the stories I've shared today about my experience and my family's experience will give you some comfort. You absolutely can connect with the other side of the veil. And when you do, you may experience a bit of a shift in your reality, a positive shift. Things will play out a little easier because you'll be trusting a higher guidance, and you'll have more intuitive nudges. And if you heed those nudges, you'll have less fear and less stress. And you'll know that someone is watching over you and wants the best for you. I will list these steps down below in the show notes, and I'll be back with you again in a couple of days. Thanks so much for joining me here today. If you want some help achieving your goals, you can grab the Success Bundle link down below, or head over to my website, kimkellythompson.com, where I have several free resources to help you. If you like what you've heard today, please consider hitting that subscribe button and join me throughout the week for episodes that will help you make your dreams your reality. I'll be back again soon with another edition of Shift or Get Off the Pot.